Hi, I'm Jim Makowitz. I'm one of the owners of Wild Birds Unlimited in Toronto, and I'm going to talk to you about hummingbird feeders today. And the reason we want to start talking about hummingbird feeders is because they are on the way. Right now, the latest sighting has been in New York State and also one in Ohio. So they won't be too long before they're here. Based on weather patterns, we want to have our feeders out and ready. So what do we want to get out for them? Well, we want to get out nectar for them. And nectar is a mixture of 4 parts water to 1 part white table sugar. And that's all it takes. You don't need any food coloring. You don't want to use things like honey or molasses, brown sugar, just that plain old white table sugar you're putting right into your coffee. So we want to get it prepared by simply putting 4 cups of water on the stove, put in a cup of white table sugar and boil it and stir it up, let it cool, and it's set to go. You can fill your feeder when it's cool and put the remainder in the fridge because you do want to keep it around because you're going to have to maintain your feeder by a bit of cleaning off and on. But first let's talk about the feeders themselves. So our favorite feeders are these guys right here. Our Wild Birds Unlimited High Perch Hummingbird feeders. And they're our favorites because they do everything the hummingbirds want. They provide the food for them easily and make it easy on us going forward to clean them and fill them. So how do you fill this guy? Well, you simply just pull off the top and that's it. Very simple. The nectar is going into this portion here. So that's where you're going to put your nectar into. I'm not sure you can see it, but on the side here there's actually a little measuring gauge so you can actually see how much you're putting in. And the neat thing is, because when you first start feeding them, we're not sure are they going to show up that quickly or how much nectar will we go through originally. So you don't have to fill them all the way up. You can actually just put it right on the bottom. Because the hummingbird's tongue, when this lid is on, even if they're hovering or sitting, their tongue will actually hit the bottom of this feeder. So it's really cool. So if you're in a spot where you can actually sit and watch, we used to do this when we were camping, hanging out on our campsite, and we could sit there and actually see the tongue hit the bottom. So it's really neat that way. The other nice thing about these feeders is, again, for cleaning, just pull it apart, very simple. You're going to wash these out with just rinse with water. If they get a bit dirty over time, use a bit of vinegar. Never use soap on plastic hummingbird feeders. And this is made from Lexan, so it's very durable, but still plastic. What the feeling is that the soap leaves a residue on the plastics, gets into the nectar, and hummingbirds don't seem to like the taste. So this type of feeder, just rinse with water, maybe a bit of vinegar if needed. Another great thing about these feeders, this piece here, so you notice that sits on the outside, that's an ant well. So I'm going to fill that with water. So if I have an issue, concern, the ants might be getting into my feeder, which once they get in there, they can kind of make a mess of it. You fill that with water, and they'll come down the spike here, try to cross. They don't like water. It's like a moat. They won't cross. The other really cool thing about these is it has overflow valves. So if I take the lid off again, you might be able to see that at the bottom, and right in here and on the bottom, so when it rains, let's say, or extra water gets in, it'll just flow out and not flow right into your nectar. The other great thing, raised floret. In other words, what that means is if when we get more into the season where wasps start to come out and they like nectar, they have a harder time getting to the nectar because that is raised up. Again, no problem for the hummingbird. The other great thing about this feeders now, one little nice add-on come out of the last couple years, is nectar tip guards. So on the bottom of this feeder, you'll notice there's these little tips here. These little guards actually these little plastic guards go right onto these pieces. So now I've actually created a blockage so my wasp can't even get its proboscis down into the nectar. So that makes it a really good way to keep these safe from wasps. Another great feature. The other great thing about these guys is I called it high perch. High perch means that hummingbirds actually, when they sit, are actually sitting up higher. So if you're a photographer, these are great feeders. You're always going to get a really good view of your hummingbird. So that makes these, again, a bonus. So with all these great features, these make what we consider the best feeders on the market. The big bonus with them, lifetime guarantee. If it ever fell, cracked, broke, bring them back to your local store, in this case Toronto, and we'll place the parts for you, no charge. As I mentioned before, there is maintenance required with hummingbird feeders. It's not like a seed feeder where cleaning is probably a little less frequent. But hummingbird feeders, you do have to clean them based on temperature. And every feeder you buy, we will give you a nice handy dandy change chart. And it talks about it's all based on temperature. We also have things like our little nectar port brushes. So one part that can be a little more challenging to clean is those little ports. That's where the actual hummingbird puts their tongue into. This makes it simple to clean. If white table sugar is not something you commonly have in the house because you're not using sugar for your coffee or tea, let's say, per se, we have what we call nectar. It's basically just fine grind white table sugar. The bonus with it, you don't have to boil the water. This one you just dump in some water, it'll dissolve instantly and is ready to go. And again, you can save the extra in the fridge. So hummingbirds are on the way. Keep an eye on our website. We'll be posting when they arrive. The one last thing you might want to consider, if you push your feeder out where it's going to be kind of wet, even with that overflow valve, you can get water running into the nectar and diluting it. Put it under one of these great little shields. So now you've got it hanging like this. So now you've got some nice protection. So that helps keep the sun off it, which will help reduce the chance of the nectar spoiling over time and keep the extra water out of your nectar. Thank you for your time and enjoy your hummingbirds.